In this video, we're going to continue our discussion on uploading images. We're going to populate the image DTO in preparation for sending the data to the database in a DAO. The DAO is going to be a separate video just because I want to talk about some things like abstract classes and generics that really kind of deserve their own video. A couple things I have done. Under web content, I made an images directory and I put our image there. This is going to be easier for us to see and show on our site because we can do a relative path like this. You see I've added an image src tag and I'm saying the images subdirectory and then image JPG. Before long, we're going to replace this with the Galleria. And you see the Galleria, one of the things that it takes is it takes a base directory and then kind of an image collection that it's going to iterate over in that directory. So what I've done just off screen is I've created that base directory called images, and I've placed a sample image in there. When you look at the screen, you can see the little thumbnail comes up. What we also need to do now is collect the information to put in our picture DTO, and let's remember what's in that DTO, or actually it's called photo. So we have an ID that's going to be generated by the database. The specimen ID is our foreign key to the specimens table. The URI is the file location where we're saving it. Date taken and contributor, well, those are really the only two things that we need to get from the user at this point. Everything else we can put together or we already have. Now first let's consider our form. It's starting to get a little bit cluttered because we have this place where we can add a new specimen, but then down below we have a place where we can add a new image. So one of the things I'm going to do is add a field set legend, which is a newer part of HTML, but it gives us this ability to kind of put a title and then a little section around something. So in Java Server Faces, this is the P field set tag. Legend is the text that's going to appear in the little title area here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll go into our specimen JSP, or actually specimen JSF page. And around this upload area, I'm going to say, let's see, we are actually, where are we? We're here. Okay, multi-part form data, I'm going to say P field set. Okay, and then I'm going to take the close tag, I'm going to put that after our form. Whoops, there we go, like so. A little bit of reformatting. Okay, and then legend is the text that the user's gonna see. So we'll say legend equals add a photo to the specimen. Okay, and close like so. Okay, and now within this form, I'm going to say P output label value equals date taken. Okay, and then we're gonna, well, I'll tell you, we'll make that a self-closing tag. Let me Control M so we can see this in higher definition. Almost. Okay, and then under that, P output label value equals, and we'll say contributor. And again, we'll make that a self-closing tag. Okay, for the P date taken, we're going to borrow another JSF component. There are several ways that we can see a calendar. I kind of like this pop-up option here. There's also one where you can hit a button, or there's the solid calendar. The pop-up option is nice and concise. Let's use that one. So that one is P calendar, and then we have value equals calendar view. Let me scroll over a bit so we can see it. Date to, that's where it's going to submit this information. So for us, it's going to be specimen vo.date, something like that, or specimen vo.photo.date would be even better. So calendar view.date to. Okay, so we're going to say P colon, and then calendar, and then we'll say ID equals date taken if we want. And then we're going to say value equals, and we're going to bind this to a managed bean, so specimen VO. Now we're going to say .photo, and let's remember first of all, what do we mean by specimen VO.photo? Well, photo is this guy. Photo is the guy that we're going to populate. And let's take a look at photo and see what that date taken type looks like. So date taken is a string, and I said when we made that we might eventually change that, and now might be a good time to do that. I'm going to look at calendar view and notice that the set date get date is actually taking a date object, not a string. So let's go ahead and refactor this. I'm going to right click, refactor. Well, let me change type. Doesn't look like it. Okay, so I know I can do a rename, but I don't know about changing type. So let's go ahead and change this to a date from a string. The only trick is that's going to mean we also need to change our method signatures as well. So let me change the date, the getter and setter to accept a date. Okay, and we save. Okay. Control-Shift-O, organize imports. Java util date is what we want in this case, and save. Okay, now I need to make a few other changes to specimen VO, because remember what we're doing is we're using this ognal syntax here, specimen VO.photo.date taken. And what that's going to do then is, let me go ahead and finish this off before I forget. What that's going to do then is it's going to go to our specimen VO managed bean. It's going to invoke getPhoto, and then it's going to invoke setDateTaken, and it's going to set into that date taken whatever option we've chosen from this calendar. So we save, and if I look at specimen VO, I don't currently have a get or set photo, so that's not going to work for me. So I need to make one. So I'm going to take this photo equals new photo. Let's change this into an attribute. And we did that in a previous video if you're wondering where I'm going here. So I'm going to scroll up to the top of this, and I'm going to say, we'll say private photo, and we'll go ahead and say @inject. Okay, and save. And now we can control 1, and we can say create getter and setter. That looks good. That's fine. Okay, now our ognal syntax is going to work better. Specimen VO.getPhoto.setDateTaken. Let's follow that trail. Specimen VO, do we have our .getPhoto? Probably towards the bottom. It just generated it for us. Yeah, getPhoto. Okay, and then if we take a look at photo, is there a setDateTaken that accepts a date? Sure enough, there is. Okay, one other thing we need to do, remember that inject and named are two different rail cars coming together. So I've specified an inject on our specimen VO for our photo. Now on photo, I need to indicate named. So I'm going to put the named attribute to tell it that, hey, if we're using dependency injection and somebody's looking for a photo, a class name photo, you are able to be that class name photo. So we save. Okay. So back to specimen VO. And actually back to specimen.xhtml. I think we're looking pretty good here. We still need the contributor. So for this, I'm just going to say p:\input text value equals, and then we're going to use our syntax again, double quote, this is our binding syntax, so double quote hash symbol, specimen vo.photo.contributor. Okay, terminate the tag, and then let's add a break after each of these so that they're all on their own line. One cool thing, if you saw the video where I did the alignment of input fields and labels, that should all still work the same here. We'll find out in just a moment as I save, and then I'm going to rebuild and redeploy. Now with the video paused, I did find a couple of syntax errors I made that I've since corrected. First of all, for fieldset, I mistakenly had an extra slash there, which is not correct. This is an open tag, and so it needs a match and close tag. So because it's an open tag, there should not be a slash in this position. The same thing on the close tag, it had a slash in the wrong place. I fixed that. I also noticed that I was missing a close quote. So if you happen to catch those in the recording earlier, I've since fixed that. Let's take a look at what happens now. I'm on the Add a Photo screen, date taken. Let's make it October 15th. Contributor, let's go ahead and make it me. And choose File. So you see we're adding a bit of metadata to our file now. I select that, and I hit Submit. Now our success criteria here is that we receive this file and that the photo DTO is populated with the date taken and contributor information. So I choose Submit. My debugger catches. Okay, we're in the upload method. What's nice about the upload method is with the breakpoint set there, we can click on variables, we can see the photo attribute, and we can take a look. Sure enough, there's Brandon Jones, date taken Thursday, October 15th, 2015. So we are receiving that correctly. The ID has not yet been set because we haven't saved this to the database yet. The specimen ID has not been set, nor has the URI. The URI is going to be easy to set because that's the file location that we're going to come up with down here where we are saving the file. So that'll be fairly straightforward to set. Now, the specimen ID is going to be easy to get as well because the specimen is also an attribute of the current object. So if I look at specimen, we should see an ID here, and in this case it looks like we haven't selected a specimen yet, so the ID is 0. But all of the ingredients are here now. We simply need to put them together. So I'll go ahead and play. And we should see that it will come back with the success method. There we go. So everything's looking good so far. We just have a little bit more wiring we need to do. Let's go ahead and do that wiring. Okay. Control M, so we can look at this in high def. Okay. And in the upload method, what we're going to do is, let's see, file get input stream, get photo, get input stream, file. Okay, so let's take a look at the save photo method. Okay. And it looks like in the save photo method, this is where we're actually coming up with the location where we're going to save the image. So we can leave that URI until we get here at the save photo method. But we can go ahead at the UI layer, we can set our foreign key there. So let's put in an if test here. Let's say if specimen.getID. We want to make sure this is populated. We want to make sure that the user has selected a specimen. So specimen get ID, let's check for that first. If specimen get ID equals 0, then we're going to say, we're going to just put a message that says you have not yet selected a specimen. Okay. So we will say, there we go. You have not yet selected a specimen. Please select one before saving the image. Okay. Now, we don't need to have these two ifs unrelated. What we can do is we can change it into an if-else if, because you see the first if test is just doing some validation. Now, the else if is going to occur as long as a specimen has been selected and the file is not null. Okay, so if the file is not null, let's see. We're saying plant service.savePhoto, and then we're passing in our photo object. Let's say photo.set specimen ID, that's our foreign key, and here we're going to say specimen.getID. We know this is going to be non-zero because we've already done the validation up above. Okay, so we'll say set the specimen ID. Okay, and save. Okay, and that's the photo object that's going to get passed right here on the save photo method in plant service. So we have the photo. Okay, now let's take a look at our plant service and let's add the path where the photo was saved. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say, here's our photo object right here. We're going to say photo.setURI, and then we're going to say file.toString. And what's file? Well, remember, file is this guy up here, which is the directory where we're saving our image. And let's go ahead and make it that directory that I made earlier, the web content. Let's see, I'll try to find it this way. We had our, was it C users? No, I don't recall. You know what? Let's just get it the easy way. Control M and back to Java EE view. And remember, I made that images directory. That's what I'm looking for now. So here we go, web content images. I'm going to right click, choose properties. Okay, and we'll get the full path right here. Okay, just cancel out of that. Back to our business logic layer, specimen DAO. I'm sorry, plant service. Okay, Control M. And now for the directory, we'll go ahead and paste like so. But now let's not do C:\/ because that's Windows specific. Let's do the slash on the question mark key, which just says start at root, go to get, then go to plant places, and then go to web content, and then go to images, and that's the appropriate directory. Okay, that looks a lot better. So we're saying take this directory, image URI, and we're going to set that as the photo URI, and then eventually save the photo to the database. That's the part that will come in our next lecture. Okay. One more thing to do, and that is, why don't we take this image and we could take this image and add a timestamp to it. That might be a good idea. Instead of just hard-coding image.jpg every time, we can timestamp that image. So let's make this a method called getUniqueImageName. Now, this doesn't need to be exposed publicly. This is really an internal concept, so we can make this a private method. I'll go ahead, Control-1, create method getUniqueImageName. Notice that Eclipse was kind enough to figure out for me it should be private, and also, more importantly, it should return a string. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say string image prefix equals plant places. Okay, string image suffix equals, we'll go ahead and say that this is a JPEG. Probably would be safer to do that dynamically. And then we'll say string middle equals double quote for the minute. I'm just trying to get rid of the red line at the moment. So I'm going to say return image prefix plus middle plus image suffix. Okay, so that returns a unique image name. And now I'm going to save. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to say simple date format SDF equals new simple date format. Okay, Control-Shift-O, organize imports. This is a way that we can format a date to look like we want. And by the way, we're going to need to use this again not long from now. But simple date format, this is a way to kind of give it a unique format. This one's a little bit tricky. It feels more complicated than it needs to be, but essentially the simple date format, we are going to pass into the constructor a string. That string should represent the format that we want. So here are some examples. Year, month, day, hour, minute, second, millisecond. Honestly, probably year, month, day, hour, minute, second is enough. So I'm just going to grab this, Control-C, and I'm going to run back to our user interface, and I'm going to say, you know what, I actually grabbed that in a different buffer. Just a minute. So lowercase, everything's lowercase except for the M and the H. So we're going to say YYMMDDHHMMSS. You see why the M for month is uppercase? Because the M for minute is already used and that one's lowercase. Okay, next thing we need to do is invoke an overridden method called format. And the method called format accepts a date object and returns a string. You see where this might be handy? It might be handy if we are saving to a database, but we'll take care of that later. Now, we have our SDF, and so I'm going to say SDF.format. Where do we get a date object? Well, if we simply say new date, that's going to give us a date object that's initialized to the current date and time. Control-Shift-O, organize imports. We want Java util date. Okay. Internally, a date stores its information. It stores its information as the number of milliseconds since 1970, January 1, 1970. That doesn't do us much good, which is why we have to do a format like this. So now what I can do is say middle equals SDF.format. And you see what we're doing is we're putting in the image prefix and then a timestamp and then a suffix, which is the .jpg. At this point, I feel fairly confident, so I'm going to go ahead and snap a breakpoint, save, redeploy, and then we'll take a look at this in the debugger. First, let's try it without a specimen selected. I'm in the specimen screen now and I have not chosen a specimen. I choose submit, the breakpoint hits, and let's see. Our specimen ID is 0. Okay, I'm going to hit play and go back. You have not selected a specimen. Please select one before saving the image. So we've confirmed that that works appropriately. Now let's go ahead and select a specimen. Okay, and that's going to kick the breakpoint again. We'll go ahead and play through that and come back to our screen. At this point, a specimen is selected, and you see it's populated the details here. And so now I'm going to go ahead and choose File, choose my image, and I'm going to hit Submit, and let's take a look at what happens now. Okay, so now you see we've gone beyond the specimen get ID. We do have a specimen ID. Let's just verify that. Specimen. And the ID is 2 in this case, so that's going to be our foreign key from the photo table to the specimen table. Now we're at the file get input stream. We'll step over that. Okay, now photo.setSpecimenID. So if I take a look at our photo object, it currently has contributor Brandon, which sounds right. Yep, that's what I put. And October 16th. So we should have a date taken, Friday, October 16th. That looks good. The specimen ID and the URI are not populated. So we're going to step into plant service save photo, step into this. Okay. And by the way, I think I went a little too quickly there on one thing. Our photo should now have the specimen ID foreign key set, and it does. You see the specimen ID is 2. So we're good there. Okay. Now we go into plant service set photo. Okay. And it's going to generate our unique name. Let's look at the mechanics of that internally. So we have the prefix, the suffix, and the middle. Okay, our date format, YYMMDD, HHMMSS. Formatted to the current date and time. Right now it's October 24th, 2015, around 5:03 p.m. Okay, and then return this image prefix plus middle plus image suffix. A lot of times in Eclipse, you can highlight the phrase in the debugger, Control-Shift-I, and it will evaluate it for you. This is one of those times. Plant places 15, that'd be 2015, October 10, 24th is the date, 24-hour times, that's 5 o'clock, and then that's the 3rd minute, the 25th second. So you see it's generated for us a time-stamped, unique image name. Okay, so we'll continue. Okay. Fingers crossed. The other thing we need to make sure is that it saves it into this path. Okay, and finally, photo set URI. So let's see, that URI is currently empty. Let's step over this line, and you see now that URI is populated with get, plant places, web content, images, blah, 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 blah. To be honest, since we're going to use a static directory, I think what I'm going to do for this, instead of saving the entire directory, I'm just going to save the image name. that's going to make it a bit easier. So after this video is over, I'm going to refactor this a bit so it's only storing the image name, not the entire directory. In any case, I choose play, run back to our page, and we get our success. Let's take a look at our directory where that image should save. One note is that Eclipse doesn't always know to update, so we might have to nudge it a little bit here and tell it to look for new images. So I'm going to right-click on my project, and we're going to do a refresh. And sure enough, there's our new image with the correct timestamp. So before I forget, I'll go ahead and do that refactoring now, and then I'll save this video and commit. Let's take this get unique image name, move this out, and we're going to say we're going to make it on its own line. Okay, Control 1, assign to new local variable. This doesn't need to be an attribute. A local variable is fine because we only need this variable temporarily, and that is for line 99 and line 101. So now here we'll say unique image name, and I'll copy that. So you see I just refactored. I turned line 99 into 2 different lines, and then photo.setURI, and we will go ahead and set our image name there. And with that now, I will save, and we'll go ahead and commit this. Okay, so in our next video, we're going to take a look at how to persist this to the database, but we're going to look at some neat techniques as well. We're going to take a look at abstract classes and generics. That's going to be a really fun video, so I look forward to seeing you then.